Hey everybody, as you may know, June is Pride Month. It's a month where we get to celebrate the amazing members of the LGBTQIA+ community, the ones that came before us, who fought for our rights, created literature, created art, and those that are currently fighting today for our rights and our freedoms and creating amazing works of art in all sorts of manners. Today, of course, I'm going to celebrate it by making book recommendations. Today's TBR recommendations are all books that are perfect fits for Pride Month. Well, they're really perfect fits for all year around. But I'm making a list to make sure your TBR explodes. So let's get started. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. It's Russell with Ink and Paper Blog. How are you doing today? As always, I hope you're happy, I hope you're healthy, I hope you're safe, and of course, I hope you're reading an amazing book or two or three or four. It is Pride Month, a month that I am always super excited about. As a member of the LGBTQIA+ community, Pride has always had sort of a very special place in my heart as an opportunity when I was younger just to really go somewhere, surround myself with gay people, and be myself. I know that there's a lot of questions and comments about what Pride has turned into now, but it really is an opportunity for our community and the world to celebrate the amazing members of the LGBTQIA+ community. And today I'm going to be making some book recommendations. Now, this was a hard list to make because I really always want to go back to my favorites, books that I recommend all the time, books that I've talked about. So I really tried to focus on books that are fairly new, that maybe I haven't talked about as much or ever maybe on my channel, and that I want to make sure that are on your TBR, because you know what? Let's celebrate some of these amazing artists. So get out your pen, get out your paper, get out your Goodreads, however you keep track of your TBR. If you are so able, please order these books from your local independent bookstore. Or if you are a library user, get your library to get you a copy as soon as possible. The first book that I want to talk to you about is actually one of my favorite reads of 2022 so far, and that's We Do What We Do in the Dark by Michelle Hart. This is out from Riverhead. It came out in May, and it is brilliant. The story of a young woman who starts attending college after the loss of her mother, dealing with sort of a loss of identity, knowing where what she wants to sort of do or who she is as a person. She meets an older woman, a professor, who she meets at the gym, and they start a relationship with one another. And the relationship becomes sort of this apex for this young woman and sort of how she sees and develops herself within the world. The relationship is complicated for a number of reasons, but there's a lot of actually back and forth that allow this young woman to sort of find a sense of self. I think this book is beautifully written. The story is so real, and I think that sometimes that sense of reality just really hit home for me, and I could see these characters, I could see this relationship and the beauty of it. I think Michelle Hart is a phenomenal writer, and I highly recommend We Do What We Do in the Dark by Michelle Hart, out now from Riverhead. Okay, the next book actually is on my June TBR, and that is The Kingdom of Sands by Andrew Holleran. This is out from FSG. I think it's been 16 years since Andrew Holleran put out a book. Set during the AIDS epidemic here in the United States. It is about an unnamed narrator who winds up moving back to Florida to take care of his aging and ill parents. And after they pass, he never sort of leaves Florida. I think he lived in New York prior. He never leaves Florida. And he's sort of trying to sort of figure out what's going on, right? And it's also at its apex, the story of a friendship he has with a man named Earl that he met many years ago. And they've always had this friendship. They watch films together, they're catty together, they're sort of, Earl is very important in our narrator's life. But then age and illness start to catch up with Earl, and the narrator starts to realize that if Earl passes, he will be alone. And what does that mean? It's sort of a meditation on loneliness, illness, death, moving on, moving forward, and all of that. The text and sort of the style reminds me very much of Garth Greenwell, in this novel, at least. So if you like that sort of dense, beautiful, poetic prose, this may be the book for you. So that's The Kingdom of Sand by Andrew Holleran, out now from FSG, or out very, very soon. Some of the new books that are on this list, I know are coming out very, very soon, or just about out. It's hard to keep all those dates straight in my head. The next book I want to tell you about also came out in May, and that's Boys Come First by Erin Foley. This is actually from a publisher, Belt Publishing, that I don't know very well, so I want to say thank you very much to them for sending me this copy. This is the story of 3 gay men and their return. Well, one of them is returning to Detroit after a relationship has gone sour. His job has sort of not worked out. And his best friend is, I believe, an educator in Detroit as well. And then the third member is sort of this rag to riches tale. He's become a real estate mogul, and sort of how they all come together. There's a real estate deal that sort of puts one of the characters and the teacher at odds with each other. I've been saving this. I've had it for about a month, but I have been saving it for Pride Month. But my friend Ryan has read it and he highly recommends it. So if you need a recommendation that way. Yeah, so I'm super excited about it. I've actually started this one already and it is really, really good. So that's Boys Come First by Erin Foley, out from Belt, gosh, I want to make sure, Belt Publishing. And I want to thank them again for getting it to me. That's very nice of you. A book that's going to be in my wrap-up, but a book that I'm probably going to be raving about all year long, is Nuclear Family by Joseph Hahn. This is out from Counterpoint Press, and Joseph was just named one of the 5 under 35 by the National Book Award Committee organization. And this book is super, it's just super complicated, but in the best and best of ways. So what we have is we have a Korean-American family. The parents, and I believe the oldest son immigrated from Korea, South Korea, to Hawaii. And they live there, they own a restaurant. Their restaurant has always done very, very well. It was on Diners, Drivers, and Dives. It's super fun, that whole part of it. The son has been dealing with his own sexuality, and he decides to go to teach English in Korea. And this is where the book sort of goes into that metaphysical, what's the word, Deus Machina sort of thing. He winds up meeting the ghost of his grandfather. His grandfather's ghost has been trying to cross the demilitarized zone from South Korea to North Korea for decades to try to find the family that he left behind when he left North Korea and came south. And the ghost winds up taking over his body, winds up trying to cross the zone, and the implications of the world seeing this young man try to do that, how it affects the family, how it affects the restaurant, how it affects him. It deals with so many very, very poignant, like family and relationships and expectations, sexuality, owning who you are, all of that stuff. It is gorgeous and beautiful and perfect. It is a fantastic novel. So that is Nuclear Family by Joseph Hahn. This is out now from Counterpoint, and just take a moment, and that cover is just gorgeous, is it not? At the end of the book, do you guys remember, you probably all remember, when there was that alert on the phone that bombs were headed towards Hawaii? And that event sort of is the culmination at the end of the book, and it's weird sometimes to read about something that you know happened and you were around when it happened, and sort of think about the implications that you never thought about before. I digress. Read the book. The next book I want to tell you about is The Town of Babylon by Alejandro Varela. This is out from Astra Books. I actually had the honor of seeing Alejandro in person with Ryan, he's my bookish buddy, at a very fun Fabulosa bookstore in San Francisco. This book, there's going to be a lot of books about traveling home, I feel, in this stack. But this is the story of Andres. He's a professor of public health, which Alejandro also is, and that is his passion. If you can see him speak, I highly, highly recommend it. But Andres he's found out that his partner has cheated on him, and he has gone home to take care of his ill father at the same time that his 20-year high school reunion is going on. And he winds up running into some people from his past. Jeremy, who was his first love, who I believe is now married with children and is recovering from addiction. And then there's Paul, who Andres sort of has always suspected was involved in the murder of a queer youth years ago, but now he's a preacher of some sort. And then his best friend Simone, who is been diagnosed with schizophrenia and is in a mental health facility. And all of that, and I like what it says. It says, during his brief visit home, Andres confronts these relationships, the death of his brother, and the many sacrifices his parents made to offer them both a better life. Alejandro sort of talked about this sense of community and space and relationships when I saw him speak, and I think that is going to be a theme that sort of goes throughout this whole entire novel. So that is The Town of Babylon by Alejandro Varela, out from Astra House. This video is going to be very long if I don't start speaking a little bit faster. The next book I want to tell you about is Nevada by Imogen Binnie. And my copy is out from Topside Press, but I have just been seeing that they are doing a reissue of this novel. It's being put out again. This is one of those books that sort of has always had a cult following and sort of was breaking barriers. So this is a transgender young woman who is living in New York City, and she is trying to keep her lifestyle going. I love that it says her punk values. She works retail, and then she finds out that her girlfriend has lied to her, and she goes on a trip, a cross-country journey that will really define her and everything about who she is going to wind up being. I want to say that I heard about this from Chris of the Book Cougars podcast when she read it years ago, and it has been on my shelf. So one, the new version is gorgeous, and two, yes, read it. That's Nevada by Imogen Binnie. My copy is out from Topside Press, but there is a new reissue that you can get your hands on right now, I think very soon. We're going to do a little bit of YA just as a recommendation for the queer youth or those of you that enjoy a good YA novel. And we're going to start with a graphic novel, and that is The Magic Fish by Trung Nguyen. This is out from RH Graphic. This is one, I should just show you how beautiful the art is. Hopefully this will do it. Like, how beautiful is this art? This is the story of a young Vietnamese boy. His family has come to America, and they're struggling with learning English, and he doesn't know how to tell them or come out to them in Vietnamese. But they have a common language, and that is fairy tales. And it is through these fairy tales that he is able to communicate with his parents. And he learns from the stories how to navigate this part of his life. Yeah, I've only heard fantastic things about this. This is in my queer YA reading group book that I'm doing for this year, and it's amazing. So that's The Magic Fish by Trung Nguyen, out from RH Graphic. And then if you were looking for something that's not a graphic novel, but something for one of your YA readers, may I recommend Right Where I Left You by Julian Winters. This is out from Viking. And this is the story. I just think this one sounds... What I love about queer YA is just that it's like Discovery. You know there's going to be some stuff that's going to go wrong, but in the end, it usually ends fairly happy, and sometimes that's all I want. Our main character has just graduated. He is a comic book obsessed kid who is gearing up to have sort of this summer. Teen Pride is around the corner, I think the book says, and he's hoping to meet his comic book legends at LegendCon. And he's trying to spend as much time with his best friend as possible before he goes to college without him. And of course, there's the love angle. An old flame enters the scene. All of that complication, all of it. I just think it sounds like so much fun. I know it's going to be like one of those fun rides. Trust me. Right Where I Left You by Julian Winters, out from Viking, for your YA reading enjoyment. Okay. I'm only doing one fantasy, and I'll be honest with you, it's because I'm going to do a whole video on fantasy coming up, and there's a lot of queer fantasy that I absolutely, absolutely love, but this book came out, and I just think it really speaks to just some really fun reimagining, and that is Spear by Nicola Griffith. This is out from Tor, and this is a queer reimagining of the Lady in the Lake story from Arthurian legends. I just love, it says where there's a brief line here at the bottom where it says, oh, hold on. She breaks the covenant with her mother, and the broken hunting spear and mended Her adventures will meet great knights and steal the hearts of beautiful women, which as she should. That took me a minute to get out of my breath. So I have read 2 or 3 Nicola Griffith's books. She wrote Hild, which I just saw on someone's channel. Who was that? Was that Mercedes? I think it was Mercedes. And So Lucky, which was her last novella, I believe is what it's called, which I absolutely loved. So I'm a huge fan of Nicola Griffith. So this is Spear. This is out now from Tor.com. Okay. And then we're going to do 2 nonfiction, 2 very different nonfiction. The first I want to tell you about is The Deviants' War, The Homosexual versus the United States of America by Eric Cervini. It's weird to say a book that you think needs more attention because it was shortlisted for the Pulitzer, but I don't know that I saw a ton of people reading it on BookTube. This is the story of Frank Kameny, K-A-M-E-N-Y. So it starts in 1957. He is an astronomer. He's working for the military in Hawaii. He is brought over by the U.S. government to D.C., where he is interrogated, asked terrible questions about his sexuality, and then removed from the military during the Lavender Scare of the McCarthy era. He does take that sitting down, and he becomes one of the first people advocating for and doing a ton of work towards gay rights in the 1950s. And this book is meticulously researched, and it's one of those books where you're going to learn a ton, but you're also just going to want to come along for this story. Eric Cervini, you should definitely follow him if you don't on Instagram and Twitter. He runs a queer book club. He recommends queer movies. He does a lot of amazing stuff. He's a PhD. I don't remember. Does it say where he's... he got his original degree at Harvard and his PhD from Cambridge. And I can't remember where he's teaching now, but I just watch his stuff online and learn and absorb. So that's The Deviants' War, The Homosexual versus the United States of America by Eric Cervini. This is out from FSG. My husband actually bought me that for Christmas last year, 2 years ago. 2 years ago now? And last but not least, why don't we throw in a fun memoir, something that will make us laugh, make us cry, and, you know, everything in between. Let's not forget about Harvey Fierstein. And I Was Better Last Night, a memoir out from Knopf. I don't know what to say about this other than if you don't know who Harry Fierstein is, it's time to learn because he's hilarious. He's written some of the most amazing Broadway shows, the Chung trilogy. He wrote the book for La Cage aux Folles. I believe he just rewrote the book for the new the new Funny Girl that's on Broadway. He was in Mrs. Doubtfire. He was the voice of something in an animated film too. I want to say it was one of the gargoyles in Hunchback of Notre Dame. Don't take my word on that because that may be wrong. Oh, he was in Hairspray, the musical. He played Edna Turnblad. So much stuff, so much history. He is hilarious. So that's I Was Better Last Night, a memoir, Harry Fierstein. So I'm not going to try to lift all of these books up because that would just be impossible. But I hope that I inspired you all to pick up a new book for Pride Month here in June. If you have any amazing recommendations for Pride Month, please put them in the comments down below. I think we all can use recommendations for amazing books all time, all year round. And I hope that you read 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. As always, I encourage you to read globally, shop locally, and until next time, I wish you a happy reading.